Hi, it's David again. In this video, I'd like to do on the Americans with Disability Act. There's a lot of confusion in the general public that some people even say that handicapped people have extra or special privileges or special rights that generally hate handicapped people. Let me tell you what I know about ADA, Americans with Disability Act. Historically in our country, as many other countries, are handicapped people. Before, I think it's 1993, the ADA Federal Act passed. Things were pretty much left up to individuals to enforce how they thought a handicapped person should be treated. The school districts, many times, I had an autistic son, and when I took him to Oklahoma, their idea of special education and helping handicapped people included putting him in a chair over in the corner and giving him a coloring book. That was before 1993 ADA. I'm sure many of you who are older, who've raised children, realize and know the school districts didn't do hardly anything for those kids. And if you had a mother or a brother, I had a friend, not a friend, an acquaintance in high school, and she had no legs. And she rode around town and in school on a skateboard. She didn't have a wheelchair, she had a skateboard. So let me tell you what's kind of gone on since 1993, not going back historically, because it's like everything historically. The society evolves, and generally it evolves better, and it has evolved better for handicapped people. Now, there's a difference between, and I'm not going to get into it in this video, there's a difference between special education handicaps and what we call 504 accommodations. There's some kids that don't qualify for special education monies because of their handicap. There's a lot of kids, most kids, that have any kind of English as a second language or minor kinds of difficulties in school are eligible for 504. And 504 is basically just saying we will make accommodations. If you can't get to your classes on time because you have a leg problem, we'll let you come in late, or we'll get a wheelchair and have someone move you. Those are accommodations. Being qualified for special education, you'll get counselors, you'll get extra classes, you'll get all kinds of wheelchair ramps and other kinds of things that you can get to class and be like the other kids. Well, let me tell you what ADA has done. And I'm an expert on this because I have sued 3 or 4 different school systems on ADA related issues. And I've been in Superior Court and can't think what the court name here is in this state. But anyway, I have again got accommodations from courts and from private companies. And the reason for that is this. If you leave handicap law and regulations up to the states, there's a lot of states that are extremely rude, crude, and hateful. One of them's Utah. The Mormons. One of them's Utah. The Mormons believe that if you have a special ed child or a handicapped child, that you got it because you're not paying them tithing, you're not a member of their church, and you're some kind of a rabble-rouser that believes in the devil and satanic ritual abuse, which is not true at all. So, Utah has an attitude from the top down, we're not going to do shit under ADA. They don't care if those kids have no legs. They don't care if those kids have emotional problems. God, he's got one arm, he can write with that one. And I'm not exaggerating. I have been involved in the special education school system and ADA rules and regulations in the state of Utah, and I'm somewhat of an expert. A little bit of an expert in California. I had a school system there sued 2 times. So here's where we go with ADA. Now remember, ADA is different than special ed. Special educational services are over here with their own rules and regulations, and ADA is over here. Now special ed generally refers to children under 24, unless they're autistic or unless they're long-term disability. There's some states will take that handicap with special ed and continue to try to teach that child in a college or give it that child some skill, give it a skill. So I'm going to stay with ADA. So if you want to know something about ADA, watch this tape. If you want to know something about special ed, that'll be on another tape. So the Congress passed ADA, and so the states don't have a rat's choice in ADA. It's a federal law, and so when the state tells you, screw you, you say no, screw you, because I will report this to the the federal people, and they'll come in and slap you silly. And they will. They will. So, here's what ADA allows. If you have, and this is their definition now, see, all these definitions are different. That's why Americans are so frustrated. They can't get the IRS, they can't get Social Security, they can't get special ed and ADA and who knows how many other agencies to understand. You've got to look at their definitions. You've got to look at their court histories. You've got to look at the precedents in their court. To be qualified for ADA, the rule is this. You must have a substantial disruption of a normal person's abilities. Now, what is that? A standard disruption of life's abilities. That's, I think, how it's said. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means you can't walk. It means maybe you can't talk. If you're mental, maybe it means you're mentally ill, that you can't hold a job. A job is a major function. Sex, you know, your penis fell off or your vagina closed up. I'm exaggerating a little bit. But dysfunctional relationships can be a substantial problem in life. Any physical disabilities, you can't eat, you can't drink, you can't see, you can't stand up, you can't climb a staircase, you can't hold a job. So you've got to decide in your own mind and then in the state's mind. Now, a lot of times, your doctor has a lot to do with this. If you don't have a doctor or you're at odds with your doctor, bend over and kiss your butt goodbye. ADA is not going to stand up for you as a handicapped person. If you live in, well, any states in the United States, most have handicap stickers and handicap parking. Do you think the states put those in there because they felt so bad for cripples? Or maybe the federal government said, we're going to take money away from you if you don't treat these people right. There's the right answer. It's federal. Many people in the states have no idea how that federal law covers them. You're going to have governors, you're going to have judges, you're going to have school educators and the highest officials, senators, that don't know shit about ADA. They don't know until they're sued by someone who is ADA qualified. Now, let me tell you something about ADA that most people don't know about, and I love it. If you are discriminated against and you're ADA qualified, you are in a group that is called a special class. Women are special class. Blacks are special class. English as a second language is a special class. So you now fall under the definition of a special class of people in the United States. You can sue anybody in the world in the United States under ADA law in a federal court. You don't have to have an attorney. Everyone that goes to federal court has to have an attorney. You don't. You can go in and pro se, in pro per. You defend yourself. Go and tell the judge, hey, they're screwing me. Judge has to listen. You can go in impoperous, which means you don't have to even pay the damn fee to go into a federal court. You just write down, I have no money, you give it, and the judge says he doesn't have any money. They set the court hearings and the time, and you go in and tell your side of the story. There's no exemption from being sued in discrimination against the handicapped special class. You can sue a policeman, and you can sue the whole police department, both, independently or at the same time. You can sue a judge. You can sue a governor. They're not exempt. You can sue the school teacher that didn't give your child, who's handicapped, his rights and discriminated, and the school district, and the state school district. You can do it all together, which the judge likes to lump them all together and combine. They don't want to take a lot of court time in having 3 or 4 different suits on the same issue. Most people don't know that. And when they find out, they have a royal crap. Especially in Utah. Let me give you an example. A true example. If I'm lying, I'm dying. I had 2 Mormons write to me, do you really want to die? I go, yeah, I'm an atheist. I don't mind dying. It's Mormons that want Jesus points. We lived in a condo complex, and if you know CC&Rs, which are covenants, codes, and restrictions, which means if you sign into attractive homes or a condominium complex, there's rules. There's damn rules. You don't paint your house pink. You don't hang your laundry out over the rail and have your underwear blowing in your neighbor's yard. You don't have a dog that craps all over and everyone has to step in it. So there's CC&Rs. And you have a committee, and the registration of the CC&Rs are approved, usually probably by the county and by the city and of course by the state. So it has a legal charter, and it's a legal organization, the people who manage the condominium. Well, I went into the people and I said to them, I live on the 3rd floor, I have a nice view, and I can't climb up those stairs much anymore and then walk away. I really need to have my wheelchair downstairs. Ah! You would think that you had blasphemed Jesus or Mohammed. They're more terrorists. They said, well, we don't allow any outside. No bikes, no motorcycles, no nothing can be outside the condo that you own. Basically, we're saying no. And I said, well, now here it is. Here's how you trigger the federal law. If you don't say anything, you're screwed. You say, simply, I'm a handicapped person under federal law. You do not have to tell them what your handicap is. That's against the law, except in a little area the Supreme Court says the handicap has to be related to the request. If you have no legs and you want a special computer, that's not related to legs. You don't qualify for that kind of thing. If you have no legs and you need a wheelchair lift to come up the balcony, now you're qualified. It's related to the disability. People historically took advantage of that. And the Supreme Court has said to everybody, if they're disabled and the request that they're making is related to the disability, you must accommodate them, or you will pay them punitive money, and in some circumstances you could be held criminally if you're under what we call the color of law, like Rodney King. He was beat up by policemen. That's the color of law, or an attorney or a judge. If they abuse their powers under the color of law, they're representing the entire population of the United States. They are scrutinized at a higher level. They can be in deep shit. So, if you say to a judge, I can't get my wheelchair through these small corridors to appear here, is it okay maybe if I come through where you come through, the back door, which is a 36-inch opening, and the judge says, no! Crawl, you bastard! You may not be a judge very long because the lawsuit is going to be big and heavy. And even the good old boy system, they're not going to say, well, he probably shouldn't have said crawl to the no-legged person. So, you can sue anybody. No one is exempt. No one is exempt, and you can go into any federal court, and you don't have to pay. You can go impoperous if you've got no money, and you can go improper, which are all legal crap words. It just means defend yourself. And they'll always tell you, you know, it's interesting that attorneys will always tell you, if you defend yourself, you have a fool for a client. Well, that's so that they get their airplane payment and their Mercedes payment and the extra house that they've got in Europe. That's why they tell you that. You can defend yourself, especially in discrimination. You can walk in with no legs. There's going to be a little bit of empathy for you. You don't have to prove you got no legs. More complex cases in the law, of course, you need an attorney, but not for discrimination. Well, the condo said no. And I triggered the federal law by saying I'm fully qualified under ADA. And I'm asking you for an accommodation of letting me put my wheelchair downstairs. And they said, no! Oh, these Mormons, God, no! The federal law, we're Mormons. We never obey the law. Those feds, they stopped us with polygamy. They stopped us with women. They stopped us with blacks. They're screwing with us with gays. We hate their ass. Johnson's Army. We hated it. So they're not even kind in telling you, screw you. Now what you do is you warn them. You say, well, I think I'm qualified and I think you need to accommodate me, and therefore I'm going to sue you. Now, even Mormons, and that's the only thing Mormons understand. When you say you're going to take the Mormons' money and the Mormon church isn't going to get it with tithing, they all go into a panic and go, God, whatever you do, let's not give them money. We need that tithing money. Well, once you threaten to sue them, most people who have any intelligence are going to say, well, let's take a look at this. What's our position? Well, the chairman of the board said to me, we're not qualified under handicap law here. These are private residences, and you have no right under handicap law. Utah doesn't have any handicap laws. Well, that's true. That's true. But what's not true is the federal ADA covers Utah, and it covers all private and public. Now, it doesn't cover inside your house. It covers the staircase that's owned by the association. You can't go in somebody's house and say, you know, I want a piano over there. That's stupid. I shouldn't even have to say that. So, we came to a head. And so I said, well, can you tell me your insurance company, because they're going to have to pay for this lawsuit if I win, which is true. If they're ordered, you know, $2 million as punitive damages, their overall condo policy is going to have to pay for that. Now, they don't want that. So, long story short, their law firm wrote to me and said, we basically, and you know, it's a coincidence. Oh, it's just a coincidence. We've got maybe 10,000 law firms in Utah, but the Mormon Church's main law firm wrote me a letter from Salt Lake City. And they're trying to intimidate me like the Mormon Church does. We're God, we speak with the gods, we're going to be gods. Screw you, you're a peasant, you're not one of us, and we can crush you like a cockroach. So he wrote, the corporation wrote to me from the law office and said, well, first of all, we understand you're asking for an accommodation. They're smart. Let me tell you something. These Mormon attorneys are sharp as a tack. They're some of the sharpest in the world because they have got to find every loophole and every way to screw people. And boy, they know the law inside out. And I knew why he was writing the second paragraph. He said, before we make a decision on the accommodation, we'd like a recommendation from your doctor concerning the disability. Now, I have a right to hide that disability. I don't have to say to them how the government decided I was disabled. I can hide that. But he also knows the Supreme Court decision that the handicap must be related to the wheelchair. It means the person can't walk, or maybe the person has diabetes, or the person has heart problems, or blood circulation, or pain. Who knows? But damn, if it ain't related to the health of that person, there's no accommodation. So they thought, wow, we're going to screw him. We know the law. Well, I know the law too. I went to my doctor. He didn't disclose, he knew. He didn't have to disclose the disabilities. He related it to mobility. That did it. I sent that to the law firm of the Mormons, and they wrote back to me and said, we will put in an electrical plug downstairs so you can plug your wheelchair in at the bottom of the staircase and use it. We're making this exception because of the ADA law, and we have a right to review it. Those are all correct statements. They're all legal statements. But I got to have the wheelchair downstairs. After I had my quad bypass surgery, then that was another story. I'm not going to go into that, but I'm going into ADA. If you are handicapped and you have a major life function that you can't perform, you're qualified. It's confidential. Get a good doctor that'll side with you, because some states will say, oh, can you drive? Because they have a big, in Utah, I've never seen this. I've never seen this. How many times have I said that on my tapes? I've never seen any other state in the world do some of the things that Utah does. When you go in to get a driver's license in Utah, there's like 46 health questions. 46! Now, if you're getting a driver's license, what's wrong with asking a person if they can see? Nothing. You look into the little machine, you read the letters, you can see. Why are they asking about your other health problems? They want to know if you're taking Viagra? I don't know what that has to do with driving a car. Well, when I was a teenager, we're not going there. We're not going to pull on that thread. So, if you put any of those things down, you got shit getting a driver's license in the state of Utah. It goes to doctors and it goes to boards, and then they get doctors this and doctors that and reports. And you may have a limited ability. You can only drive 10 miles a week. You can only drive in the daylight. You can only drive with an appliance on the steering wheel and the gas. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare for ADA people. Now, does the ADA law cover that? There's many areas of the law that we don't know, that hasn't been tested. If a handicapped person went in and sued the Department of Motor Vehicles in Utah, they might win. And they might have to limit those questions or take certain things off of those questions. So, ADA is hated by selfish, self-righteous, bullshit people. But you have a right. If you're ADA qualified, you can be calm. And you can say, I need an accommodation. Now, be careful. You can't dictate as the handicapped person what the accommodation is. They can kind of dictate, and if it's reasonable accommodation, that's the law, the word is a reasonable accommodation, then they're out. They've done the law. So you may say, well, I want you to build a ramp. I saw this in California. I want an elevator put in this building so I can get up. It was a maritime building that people don't go into very much, but it was a public building. Oh, I want you to build a $1 million elevator there. Now, is that reasonable? I don't think so. What they did, and it met the law, they put a sign down at the bottom of the staircase, and they said, it was painted in blue, if you are handicapped and you need assistance traversing this staircase, please ring this bell. And they would come down and carry the wheelchair up. There's the law. There's the law. That meets it 100%. You may not like it, but it is a reasonable accommodation. Now, there are, again, some Utah, I get so upset. Someone wrote to me the other day, says, I love it, the way you rant. Well, I'm ranting again. I was over at Walmart, and I have a handicap sticker on my car, I have for years, and all the handicap parking was taken up. So I moved into the handicapped area that's blue, that has the stripes on it, and an old boy across the way, I saw him move his truck over, and he got in front of me, and we were both in that blue area, but we were in our cars with the cars idling. We weren't technically parked, we were stopped. Here comes the Utah police, and they're going to hassle the handicap guys. So when I saw the policeman going over to that guy's car, I started to gently back up. I'm getting the hell out of here. And he goes, stop, stop, it's you too. Jesus, okay. So I stopped. Well, eventually he comes over to my car and he said, whose handicap sticker's that? Well, it's mine, sir. So he goes to his computer, punches in my name, my license number. Sure enough, the sticker comes up. So now he's looked at my record, clean record. I haven't had a ticket for 35, 40 years. And I've never been arrested. And I'm pretty kind of a boring person. And so he comes to me and he has this little booklet in his hand. I thought it was going to be a ticket. And he says, well, you know this is illegally parked. I said, yes, sir. I said, there's no spaces, but I have a sticker and I am in the handicapped area. And the car is running, and I'm sitting here waiting for my person to come out of the store. Well, technically I could give you a ticket. Now, I've learned in my old age, when you're dealing with a Mormon policeman, you shut your damn face and you just say, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. I started that yes, sir crap. Okay, so he said, well, I'm going to give you a warning with information. Well, I don't know what the hell that is. So he has his booklet there, and he says, I've taken your license plate number down, and your name, and what's happened here today. And if it happens again, we're going to give you a ticket, and this information goes to every police officer in the city. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now move. Yes, sir. Well, I just kept cruising the parking lot. That's under the color of law. It is a handicapped area, but it's a striped handicapped area. So now, see, it's not clear. If I took him to court, which I could, sue him for discrimination, because I could say easily, and I was saying subliminally, I need to park here as a handicapped person, because I can park in yellow zones, not for 10 minutes, indefinitely, and I can park at parking meters with no money, indefinitely, and so there's many privileges for handicapped people to park for mobility reasons. So I didn't push it. I've learned in Utah, I'm going to lose it at the local level, I'm going to lose it at the appeal level, and I'm going to lose it in Colorado, where the Mormon judge always takes the Mormon cases and he sides with the Mormon church. Do I want to take this case to the Supreme Court of the United States? I don't think so. So ADA is federal. If you're handicapped, you have a lot of privileges. You can't abuse it. You can't abuse it. You can't go into a restaurant and say, I'm going to the front of the line, I can't wait. Nah, you can't do that crap. But you can go to the manager of the restaurant and say, the tables are a little too low for me. Can you get me a pad to sit on the chair? Oh yes, that's a reasonable accommodation. And they are obligated under federal law to do that. And when they don't do that, there's the assumption that they're in violation under the court precedents for disability. That the court leans. The precedent is if a person says they're handicapped, you should believe them that they are. And whatever the accommodation is, if it's reasonable, you should provide it. And if you don't, the courts are going to side with the handicapped person more than with the person who's being mean, vindictive, or punitive, or they're not going to have the government in Utah tell them what to do. Well, you can apply for a handicap sticker. It does make life a lot easier, loading cars and groceries and not having to walk so far and not losing your car as you get older, and there's some handicaps that you can't find your car. You see old people all the time, and some other people that have a license but can't find their car in the parking lot. Your doctor is going to have to sign your handicap sticker, and of course they can review it. They never have, but they can, and they can ask for your doctor's continued review every year or so, that you still qualify under the handicap law. So ADA has been a wonderful advancement in getting equal rights. Equal rights, that people in wheelchairs can get in elevators now, and they have handicap parking, and the van lifts can come down and they can get out and they can go into the store or the bank and do their business. It's a wonderful evolution. Yeah, it's expensive, but as Americans, do we want to leave those people as homebound? Do we want to leave them stuck at the top of a staircase where they can't even get down to check the mail? There's a certain amount of humanity, and I feel that way. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're one of the Utahs that just hate handicapped people, and God told you that if they belonged to your church and paid tithing, their handicaps would go away. Be that as it may. Use the law wisely. It is a reasonable accommodation. It's not a straight accommodation. And the new laws say anyone that you ask a reasonable accommodation from, like if you're asking for a cushion to put you up higher, and the person doesn't think that's related to your handicap, they have a right to say, raising you on our private cushions, how is that related to your handicap? And if you say, well, I have my toes cut off, that doesn't relate to being up higher. So you don't have to ever, it is totally confidential what your handicap classification is. However, you're going to have to say, if you take it to court, you're going to, lose, that if the person says, what is the handicap, you can say, I've had, operation on my rectum, and I'm not able to sit as high as normal people. Now, they don't know if it's cancer. They don't. You've kind of kept as much of the confidentiality as you can, but it better be related to your butt. That's all I'm saying. It better be related to your butt. Children that meet ADA requirements, that can't learn in school or can't go to school, they're all qualified under ADA, and there has to be accommodations by the school district for them, and it's usually with special education. Now here's the other thing. A child under 18 can't sue anybody because they're not of age, they're not an adult. But if they're handicapped and you're a parent, or you're directly involved as a counselor, as a priest, someone who knows that handicap and knows that child, you can be their attorney. You can sue whoever's bullying or harassing or not giving accommodations and stand in for the child. You can't do that, I don't think, in any other place. If you're not an attorney, there's no way you can defend anybody, anywhere, in any state that I know of, other than yourself. Pro se, you can always defend yourself, but you can never stand in for another person and act as their attorney. A handicapped child, especially if you're related to it, you can. Most people don't know that. That's under the law. There are courts, like I said, the federal courts. Any federal court is where you go, and when you fill out the paperwork, you just put discrimination. That's what we call the cause of action. So, I try to say in my tapes and my videos that don't abuse it. Don't make the world mad at handicapped people. But God, if you can't get in a damn building, you can't lift the mail, and you can't lift groceries up 3 floors, and you need a lift, or you need an elevator, or you need assistance, the laws of the United States protect you. And if your children need accommodations and they're ADA qualified, and the doctor says, yeah, they missing a large section, a significant section of life's function, they can't go to school. They're screaming, they're yelling, they're throwing crap out the window, and no one wants them to go to school, and they're ADA qualified. Now the school has to kick in special education and educate that child with special ed, but it also crosses ADA a little bit. So when you see the vans and you see the parking and you see the wheelchairs, now you go into Walmart, everybody's now got wheelchairs for people that can't walk. That whole building, maybe they can walk from their car. Now let me give you one more. People don't know this. Let's say you're not handicapped and you're driving the car, and you take the car over to Walmart, and you have a son or a daughter who is shopping in Walmart or works in Walmart, and you're picking them up. Can you park in the handicap parking? You bet your ass you can. You don't have to be handicapped, but if you are transporting or assisting a handicapped person, you come under the ADA laws. So you're parked there in the handicap parking, and of course if you're in Utah, that's a terrorist act. So the police are going to invade you, and basically they don't know that you can park there under federal law, because Utah won't train them. Utah believes they're independent, they're an island. It's not true. And you can say, I'm picking up my handicapped son in his wheelchair coming out of the store here, and I have to wait, and so I'm in handicap parking. Most policemen are going to say, you're not qualified, you're not, and then they'll go back to the station house, and the boss will say, well, they are qualified. You don't give them a ticket. The ticket by the DA is going to be quashed. So you can park in handicap parking. Same way with yellow zones and white zones and other kinds of places. Red zones, no. You can't park in a red zone because that's a fire zone, and whether you're handicapped or not, you can't block a fire truck or a police car or an ambulance from helping other people. You're not, and I'm not, a special character. All we are is equal characters. And the law says that, the law protects that. Most people are too dumb. You're going to have a lot of people say, well, that's not right. You don't know what you're talking about. And get on the computer, look up ADA, look up some of the new court decisions, look at some of the people who've lost, associations that have lost, schools that have lost, policemen that have been sued. Take a look at what I'm saying. If I'm lying, I'm dying. And I'm giving you everything I know about ADA. I've been in several courts, I've been in the school systems, and I have to say, under ADA law, I've never lost. I've never lost. Because once people read the law and know the law, they know they're screwed. That their attitude and their behavior is not condoned under ADA. They give up, and suddenly you get a letter from a high-priced law firm that says, well, park the wheelchair there. We don't like it, but we know the federal law protects you. And when I needed it, I had it. And I'm glad that we have ADA. Thank you very much.